Done photography, videography. You've written screenplays.
Yeah.
And you've done short films. You went to college for that, right?
I went to broadcasting school.
Okay, that's broadcasting school. That's what it was.
Which is not like college. It's doesn't carry that much weight.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, they tell you that after you get out. Like, this is did you just go to like some guy's basement and learn this?
Pretty much. Yeah, it was one of those like for-profit schools at the pyramids.
Oh, okay. Like what is that?
Like the Art Institute.
Kaplan College.
Kaplan, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, it was worth it. It wasn't super expensive, and I learned a lot about engineering and broadcast. The whole. I mean, they teach you pretty much every aspect of radio.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Nice. So you're a mortgage banker now.
Yep.
So how long you been doing that to pay the bills?
25 years.
Really?
Yeah. My son's 25, and that's so when I'm working at a radio station making like $6 or $7 an hour.
Yeah, right. So what got you into comedy?
I've always enjoyed comedy, stand-up comedy, and films that were crude and just ridiculous.
What's the most ridiculous movie you've seen?
You mean as far as like a comedy?
Yeah, comedy.
When I was a kid, it was all the slapstick stuff and Spaceballs and Blazing Saddles.
Okay, Blazing Saddles is hilarious. Like, so it's the old Mel Brooks films. Yeah, Blazing Saddles is hilarious. And my wife and I were watching Spaceballs. It's like, this is like it's so juvenile. It's for like kids now. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, I had to watch this with the boys one day.
But then, I went through a divorce and was a single dad, and so I had 2 kids at home, young kids, and so I never, I didn't go out. What I decided to do was in the evenings I would start writing.
Okay.
I figured out how to write. I said, I got this idea. My son has Asperger's, so we've always had that, challenge of his being on the spectrum, But hilarious, super funny kid, super smart, So I thought, let me write something that kind of geared towards that. So I figured out how to write a screenplay, and then I said, and I started writing more and sending them out, trying to get some traction. And then I said, I know how to operate a camera. Let me just try to do this myself. Let me just shoot some short films. And so then I met comics and kind of then got, into that world a little bit.
Was most of that writing done here in Indy?
Yeah.
Okay, so you said you're like an Indy native, but you just kind of like placed here from your dad being in the Army. Would you say like Germany and Kentucky?
Yeah. So I mean, I was born here, but then as a baby we moved to Germany, and then when we came back, and then we moved to Kentucky, Army-wise, and then after a while back to Indy.
Wow.
So an editor, I saw like a little meme or something like an editor before quarantine, and it's just them sitting alone in front of all the equipment. An editor during quarantine, same deal. Just by themselves.
Yep. I had the Starbucks cup on the windowsill by the text yesterday. It's like, it's happening. It's happening. So you performed at the White Rabbit Cabaret. Is I'm saying that right?
I did. Yeah, I did a mic there. They did a show. I think it was in January. That was. I mean, it was probably one of the most fun times I had because there were a lot of just great comics that did a show prior, and then later on in the evening they opened it up as an open with another like half a dozen comics or so. And it was just it was a packed house. It was 150 people maybe. I'm guessing.
Wow, that's a pretty large venue.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Was this like an open mic, or was this just like where you feature an act?
No, I've featured a few places, but this was an open. So it was a feature show earlier in the evening, and then they opened it up as an open mic. And most of the people that were there for the show stuck around and watched the open.
Got them drunk enough to hang around and watch. Okay.
And I think a handful of like the comics that did that feature also stuck around and did another set.
Oh, cool.
Mike.
Nice. We're gonna. We haven't done one down at Fountain Square yet, so this is exciting.
I know. I'm just so
I love
bummed because I would have been down here, so many times every weekend. We usually come down here. So.
Oh yeah. Where do you like to go?
A lot, just any spot around here. I love Revolucion.
Okay.
Especially when the weather's nice. They have a little patio in the back, tiki bar area.
This isn't the one that has like the giant parrot in it, is it?
No.
Okay, that's the one that's like next to the hi-fi. So we should be right here.
I recently started microdosing. This is all the rage in Silicon Valley. All the tech titans are doing this. You just take a small amount of a psychedelic, and it's supposed to alleviate anxiety, make you more creative, alleviate depression. The really cool thing about microdosing Did you see that?
All right. I'm not one to judge a book by its cover, but if you own a PT Cruiser, you have enough cats already.
Psilocybin, yeah.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah, so what have you read up on it? Because that's like, I've got to like look some stuff up on this, and I found it really interesting. Is what Johns Hopkins is doing this study. There's the one that popped up when I Googled it, and it's a haunted house looking thing. And they got it down to where it's just like, you're on a comfy couch, and you take a little dose, and then they just put the headphones on, you listen to like classical music, and everybody has benefited from it.
Yeah, I think I read that same thing.
And it says like after you get to 30 milligrams, that's like the peak, that's like the most people can take. And that's when they start having like the negative side effect. It shows negative side effects when they have like a bad trip or something where it's too stressful for them. So it sounds like it's, as long as they keep getting like permission, or they keep getting grants to do it, that could be like a brand new thing for like cure depression, anxiety. Actually, the next step,
addiction.
They're going to they're working on the addiction, try to get people to quit smoking. I'm not sure how that one would work quite yet. I didn't see much on it, but they had what was the other one? Oh yeah, they're going to use like cancer patients next to kind of help them overcome fear and anxiety of going through like chemotherapy and like the fact that they have cancer. So it's like, wow, this is like
pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah. I think I kind of had been somewhat interested in it, and then I don't know if you've ever heard of an author named Tim Ferriss. He wrote a book called The 4-Hour Work Week.
Yeah, I've heard of the 4-Hour Work Week. Okay, Tim Ferriss sounds familiar. Yeah,
and he's a big proponent of it, and I think he's also helped out and given money to John Hopkins for that.
Oh, okay.
For that research. I think MAPS is another group that does some studies, and which I'm not exactly sure what MAPS stands for, but something about psychedelic studies.
Okay.
But yeah, microdosing. I mean, there is a ton of studies out there now, and mostly anecdotal stuff too. But just a small amount of a psychedelic, in short doses of over every other day or every couple of days does things like increase your productivity and alleviate depression and anxiety, that kind of stuff. Well, the news during this quarantine hasn't been all doom and gloom. I recently found out that I'm about to become a granddad for the 6th time, which makes my lovely wife a gilf. She's a grandma I love forever. She's also a grandma I love finger blasting.
Should have brought the paper with me. Mexican government officials have shut down production of the Corona beer due to the coronavirus pandemic, deeming it a non-essential entity. IPA drinkers are in fear that their shitty beer will be next.
So the type of screenplays that you what kind of screenplays do you write? all funny, or is it just like a variety of different?
Yeah, mostly comedies.
Okay.
So I've probably written maybe 6 feature-length screenplays.
Oh yeah.
One of them is more of a drama or dramedy, and then the others are just kind of slapstick type comedy. But outside of that, I've written a ton of shorts, and
Okay.
most of those are all on YouTube. You can find them at like Catch the Short Bus.
Oh, so is that the actual is that the name of your production company or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that was kind of so when my son was young. He was an IEP, and his counselor suggested that he ride the shorter bus to school, just because he was having difficulty getting along with the other kids. And so we used to kind of make a joke of it. he and I. And it was just kind of it was just the thing that we joked about back and forth. And,
Yeah.
so then I wrote a screenplay called Catch the Short Bus, and decided that was going to be the name of the production company.
That's awesome. How'd you find out about 1949? So you started around the same time I did. I started early May, and you were end of May?
I think that was the first time I went up on stage, the end of May.
Okay.
But before that, I just, like going back to the short film stuff that I do, and I thought, hey, this might be a good way to meet some funny people that might want to do short films.
And it wasn't.
Right. So I reached out to, so I saw 1949 maybe on Facebook or something, and I reached out to Mitch Downs.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I'm a videographer. I have a friend that I've done video with who now works at the Laugh Factory in LA, and he does their videos. And I know that like when people do an open mic, he'll shoot it, and then if they want a copy of it, it's like $20 or whatever, and it gives them a good, good thing to look at and kind of help them improve. Plus, they can show off and say, "Look, I was at the Laugh Factory."
There you go.
And so he's like, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea." So I went out and just started shooting video for each comic, and then saying it's available. It wasn't really a plan to get rich, but I also wasn't going to give it away because it takes time to edit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And stuff. Which I still give it away sometimes. I mean, it's one of those things, because now that I actually have gone up on stage and have been, and maybe in the last year gone up on stage 40 times now, or I don't know. But I just know how beneficial it is to be able to critique yourself and see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's painful to watch. It's painful to watch. Have you performed at Liberty Street yet, or do you? Okay.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
I love it. It's a fun little place. I mean, that's just usually a Thursday night, late night open mic, and the thing about it is there's guys that'll come after doing a feature set, at Crackers or any other club downtown. Once they finish, they'll come over to Liberty Street and work out new material.
Nice.
And it's a fun. It's a late night, so especially when I had to get up and go to work at 6:30 in the morning. Now I can roll out of bed at 8 and just go downstairs in my underwear and fire up my laptop and start my work day. I think right before all this happened, I did get lucky. So one of the friends I met doing short films is a guy named Chris Shaw, and he's a national touring comic. He lives in Vegas now.
Okay.
And he came home to do a show last month, and he just last minute, I knew he was coming to town, doing a show, and last minute he sends me a text and he says, "Hey, do you mind hosting this show for me?"
What?
So I did. It was a lot of it was a great time and a
That's
blast.
cool.
And what was really awesome is for him to, we talked, we hung out. It was kind of more of a reunion for him. He had a lot of family and friends there because he hardly ever comes to Indy, and there was probably maybe 80 to 100 people. I don't know. The bar was packed.
Okay.
It was at a bar, but when he had pretty much sold it out, and so he shoots me a text the next day, and he was like, "Man, I just can't believe how much you've improved." It was really cool to get that kind of a accolade from someone that you look up to and who's also a friend.
Right. And then you've done. You said you've done like a couple where you're like a featured act. How many of those have you done? Because the only one I knew was like the Catch Your Breath comedy show.
Mm-hmm.
That was that was in February, into February.
Yeah, a few. I've had a few where I've been asked to like do a feature spot.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
That only. But you okay? So trying to get the timeline here, right? Sorry. But you did like a writer's class or a writing class with your son, right? Your son Jake.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know Jerry Goebel. He's a local comic, and he's probably been out to 1949 a few times.
I think so. He's like the older guy. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's great. I love Jerry, and he's. I knew him because I shot some film at the First Church of Cannabis.
Oh yeah.
Here in town, and he was part of that church, and that's kind of how we got to know each other.
Yeah.
And then we discovered that we both had like same interest in film, and I wanted a way to kind of try to punch up jokes in my screenplays. Just I have a pretty good grasp, I think, of comedy writing, but I wasn't quite sure like the whole setup punch, how to tell a story, and so I took Jerry's class, and then Jerry said, yeah, at the end of these 6 weeks or whatever, you're going to go up on stage, and I said, well, no, I don't think so. I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of guy. And then I got to thinking about it, and my son was absolutely not. I'm not doing it. So I said, why not? I'm going to just YOLO.
Yes, the battle cry of the white dad.
Right.
YOLO.
So I said, yeah, why not? And it was fun, and then, how cool it is when you get up there and people appreciate what you worked so hard on.
Right.
That you're like, oh, I want to do that again and again. So
here we go, Liberty Street.
I've had the recurring dream that I'm a car muffler. Now I'm exhausted. Rim shot.
Why did the cat get kicked out of the casino? Because he was a cheetah. That was bad. That was real bad.